Okay, so you watched it. You watched the Twin Peaks.
I watched the entirety of Twin Peaks.
Okay,
yeah.
so what? So you were waiting for the last couple episodes, and then you watched the movie.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So what did you think of the last couple episodes in the movie?
Well, the last episode of the show, I mean, it's the same as the whole second season. You know, it's just it's weird, nonsensical, but I don't know, it's brilliant. I mean, the only fault is that we just don't get to know what happens afterwards to all these characters, and they leave you with like 3 cliffhangers.
There's that, and I also think there's a little bit. I think if they knew that it was going to be the last episode, because
it would have played out different, yeah.
Well, I think they didn't know it was going to be the last episode, right? Because they filmed it and then they got canceled after.
Right.
But I think if they had known it was going to be the last episode, I think they would have put in a little bit more of a final confrontation between Cooper and Earl. It's a little anticlimactic.
Well, yeah. I mean, we don't really know the end, what happens to either of them. I mean,
well, there's that, but also just
Cooper's...
Bob shows up and does it.
Yeah.
You know, kind of.
I mean, are we supposed to take from that last scene that Bob kills Wyndham Earl, or that he's just taking possession of him? I mean, it's
like he took his soul. He saw the fire come out.
I mean, that whole scene in the Black Lodge what's that like 20 minutes or something like that of him going from room to room and
one and the same.
And honestly, I just don't know what's going on. Like I was confused. Like, okay, so the dwarf and the giant are there, right? But like they're helping him the whole time though. So are they helping him because they don't like the way Bob's doing things? Or are these the bad versions and there's good versions of the same characters in the White Lodge and they were the ones that were helping him? I'm not sure about that.
Right.
Because he does the dwarf, I don't know if it's the dwarf or one of the other characters that says what is part doppelganger.
Yeah.
And so, and then we see that, there's kind of the Laura doppelganger, and, obviously there's bad Cooper and all that, but are all these spirits as well, or?
Well, remember there's a moment in, right after Cooper gets expelled from the FBI, and he says to Hawk, what is this? And he says, Hawk says, my people believe in this thing called the White Lodge, but there's also the Black Lodge. There you must confront your shadow self, and if you fail, your soul is annihilated, basically. So the idea is, at the end of the show...
So do you think the White Lodge and the Black Lodge are the same place? Is that what you're saying?
I think you have to pass through one to get to the other.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But I think that the end of the show implicates that Bob takes over Cooper, and therefore the show...
Is that him possessing Cooper, or is Cooper still stuck?
That's what they say in Fire Walk With Me.
Is it because it's...
That's what Annie
says that, right, yeah.
The good Cooper's trapped.
Yeah.
The bad Cooper is out.
Yeah, so that just made me interested. Is it the same thing then with Leland Palmer? Was that really not him the whole time? Is he the real Leland Palmer stuck in the Black Lodge too?
Well, that's kind of like what they implicate. And also,
or is it more like his soul is stuck there and his body is out?
Well, I don't know. And then, like, when you're dealing with Laura Palmer, who is Shades of Grey.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, did the bad Laura get killed? Because that's what I thought. I thought maybe the bad Laura got killed and the good one was hiding out as Madeline.
Oh, well, that would be interesting.
I mean, that's not what happened.
Right, yeah.
But I mean, when you're watching the show,
yeah,
especially on repeat viewings, you think, well, maybe. Like, I thought that would be kind
because
of
everything we see of Madeline, she's just sweet, innocent, young, good little girl. It could be all the good parts of Laura after the bad's been killed off.
Well, everybody keeps saying Laura was just a wonderful person, and this other group always says, no, she's the most evil person. You know what I mean? And I think it's... Well, so if you're getting into things where Annie's saying in Fire Walk With Me, well, the good Cooper is still stuck and the bad Cooper's out. Well, now you're talking about, well, there's no shades of gray. It's only black and white.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But, I mean, the hint is that Leland was a good guy who happened to be possessed by Bob, or to a lesser extent, just possessed with the feelings of being a child rapist, murderer. You know what I mean?
Right.
But at the second half of Twin Peaks, definitely Bob is a real person. Bob is a real thing.
Yeah.
There's no...
By that point, we can't just say it's just a
figment,
a manifestation of his evil self or anything like that. Yeah.
No,
it's definitely not that.
No, and I think it's interesting that they bring up the fact in Fire Walk With Me that the midget says that he is the arm. He is the missing one-armed man's arm.
Oh, I heard arm, but I didn't really make that connection. I thought maybe each of the spirits are a different part of a body of themselves. But oh yeah, that makes sense.
Probably, but
then, well, didn't Mike cut his arm off because he was tired of being evil, and that was his, what was it? What did you say was his penance or his?
I don't know.
Or
yeah.
his, who knows? Or
Well,
was he cutting off the evil portion of himself? But the dwarf is helping Cooper the whole time, so.
Yeah, I think it. I mean, it changes from, from Cooper's dream to by the time we get to the Black Lodge. I mean, it's a completely different thing.
Yeah. Because I found that. I mean, I love the Black Lodge, but the more I see it, the more confused I get.
Well, yeah. Well, it was going to be even more confusing because apparently.
I'm sure it would have.
Well, because apparently they in the script it had sort of a Nightmare on Elm Street feel where Cooper was going to be in a dentist chair and Bob was going to be the dentist pulling out his teeth and stuff, and Lynch just said, "What the hell?"
Stuff that was supposed to happen after the end of the second season of the show.
No, it was going to be in the Black Lodge. That Cooper was going to be like in a dentist chair.
Oh.
And Bob was going to come out with the midget or whatever and start pulling out his teeth or something. And that's.
No, that was
Lynch was like, this doesn't make any sense, and it's saying a lot when
he says that.
when he definitely says that.
Yeah, indeed. I was thinking while I was watching the movie the other day, do you think there's a connection at all between the fact that these two spirit creatures, Mike and Bob, is there any connection between him and Bobby and Mike, the actual Twin Peaks kids that are friends? Or is that just pure coincidence?
Well, because remember when, right after Cooper has his dream, the sheriff goes, "What's your dream about?" And Cooper says, "Well, there was a guy, there was Mike." It was Mike and Bobby. No, different Mike, different Bob. It's just, I
mean, the names are obviously Lynch knew about those,
right?
All those characters at that point,
right? Well, I think it kind of adds to the whole confusing,
it's not
confusing aspect of it.
Yeah. Or is that, or maybe that he just did that just for pure misdirection?
I don't know. I think it just kind of works as part of a free-flowing dream state of everything. There's connections to everything, but no connections. So, what do you think of the movie, in retrospect, watching that?
Well, the thing is, you can't really watch the movie thinking it's going to be, a long episode of the TV show. The movie is not the TV show.
No.
It is. It has. Even the scenes that take place in Twin Peaks, it doesn't look like the TV show at all. It looks like it's shot completely different place.
Even though it was in the same place.
But it doesn't. You don't feel that same kind of geography or anything like that. And plus, half the characters aren't even in there at all.
Well, the thing is,
even though the ones that are there, you don't have that same kind of innocent, goofy charm that the TV show had. It has none of that. He stripped it down to its
primal evil,
primal elements.
Well,
exactly.
And also the movie is. I really like the movie, but I also see why people don't like it. But it's the anti-Twin Peaks. When Chris Isaac walks into that sheriff station, that's the anti-Twin Peaks sheriff station.
Yeah, instead of this great sheriff that he connects with instantly and a lovable staff there and all, it's it's his total asshole and his even more asshole deputy and
it's we're in the Double R Diner, but we're in there for one scene. The camera's high up in the air. There's no connection to Norma and
you barely even
Shelley.
see Norma. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the reasons why is because Norma had shorter hair than she does in the pilot, so that might bring up a thing. But they could have used a wig. Mm-hmm. Also, when Laura sees Bob upstairs in her room and then she runs down the stairs, you'll notice that instead of a long flight of stairs, she now takes a hard right.
Yeah. The house looked completely different.
Even though it's the same house.
Really?
Yeah, it's like
in the front yard. I don't really remember seeing the front yard, but it didn't seem like they had the long steps and the hill going down. All of it looked totally different.
Yeah, it's all there, and I think having Maura Kelly playing it, it just adds to the whole. Well, this isn't Twin Peaks, but it is, but it's not. And the thing.
I understand that a lot of the characters aren't in it. Not every character from the show needed to be in the movie,
but they were in the script.
Right.
And I don't know if I've told you this before, but Lynch came out at the time and said, "Well, the film was running too long, so we had to cut things down." But if you read that script, you can totally see why those things were cut because just on script form, they make little sense.
Right.
And so it would be pulling away from Laura's story the whole time. Like, you know, to do a goofy scene with Sheriff Truman and Josie.
Right.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, sure.
Right? But then there's some scenes that, like, would have been cool. Like, for instance, you know, Laura working with Josie, teaching her language, right? There was a whole scene when they're running through the woods when Leland or Bob, whatever's marching the girls through the woods. There's a part where the block of wood jumps off the table.
Oh, yeah, he starts convulsing, right?
Yeah, you know what I mean? Things like that.
Yeah.
You know, I know we had talked about they should have connected it a little bit better by having it be Wyndham Earl that shot Cooper.
Yeah.
Instead of as Josie.
Mm-hmm.
And I still think they should have connected it even more when Leland's driving with Laura and the one-armed man approaches them with the truck.
Oh, yeah, it starts shouting all that stuff at them.
The first time I saw that movie, I got excited. I thought it was Wyndham Earl because that was the truck he was driving.
Oh, really?
Well, at the end, when he's like, 12 rainbow trout. You know what I mean? He stole the...
Well, wasn't that Pete's truck he stole?
Yeah, that's right. But it looked like the same thing. I thought, oh, it's Wyndham Earl. And I thought that would have been a great type of thing to connect that.
Right.
Just randomly.
Yeah, just one scene, Wyndham Earl.
I mean, it would have made sense considering they have David Bowie and they're doing his little thing. You know, which in the script is so long. It's like a 3-page scene.
Yeah.
And we're in Argentina. We go to Argentina. There's a whole other... I mean, it's amazing. But
yeah, I was confused by that. There's Cooper's dream, and he's doing the thing where he's looking at the camera, walking out in the hall, and then you see that scene, and he's like, all of a sudden, he's just like, it's just like, blah, 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 okay, the end.
Well, not only that, but Cooper again is like... Cooper's not
sequences.
even the Cooper we know and love in the show. He's very kind of robotic.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah, you don't feel that kind of joy that he exudes throughout the show.
Not at all.
Yeah, you could tell that he didn't want to be doing this.
Right. So
I remember, didn't he say something like he didn't want to do it at first, right?
Right, and he was supposed to be Chris Isaac.
Yeah, I remember hearing that.
But it's, you know, I don't know. But, you know, so like the show feels like the show's kind of like about Cooper's innocence to corruption, right? By the end.
Yeah.
So, but then the movie kind of throws in a curveball, and I think it's weird because it's a prequel.
Yep.
And I remember my mom when she first saw the movie after it was over, she said, "Well, that's it. Like we already knew all this."
Basically, yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I think in a way, I think some people are disappointed because we already have seen this, we already know this. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And the way everyone described Laura Palmer, it made her infinitely more entertaining in our heads,
right.
than seeing it.
Yeah.
But okay, now putting that aside, I think that Cheryl Lee went balls out in that movie.
Oh yeah, she's utterly fantastic.
And really.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you really see her going through the ropes, and you understand the wild aspects of her. You understand the kind of nihilism that she's showing off, and yeah, she does a fantastic job.
A great job.
Some things are, I don't know, a little weird. Like all the amount of nudity surprised me. You know, like.
Well, I
guess he did the same thing in Mulholland Drive, I guess, to a sense. But it was just weird, you know, seeing the show. I mean, obviously the show's on network television. You can't show any of that stuff. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. It just seemed like it was unnecessary.
Well, that didn't bother me so much because that was kind of Laura, and she's kind of a sexual beast. Yeah. What bothered me more is when Bobby
or Donna does it too.
There's that, but the thing that bothered me more is when Bobby's in the payphone. He's calling Jacques, and Bobby says, "Oh, Jacques, you crazy fucking Canadian." Mm. I had a problem with that because Bobby was in the show. Right. And Bobby never cussed in the show. Yeah. But Laura could do whatever she wanted to do because she wasn't in the show.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
And that's the thing. It's like, you know, if you already create a reality where they're not cussing. So, and for the most part in the movie, they don't cuss. But there's a couple moments where they do kind of throw it in.
I didn't like the part where he shoots the guy. You know, the whole drug deal thing. I didn't get that at all.
Well,
first off, the guy, he pulls out the coke.
Right.
And then he pulls out his gun and he's going to shoot him. Like, why does he even bring the coke if he was just planning on shooting him? It's not like Bobby made a first move or anything like that.
There's two things about it.
I was completely confused.
Two things about it.
Yeah.
There's two things about it. One is that's mentioned in the pilot when Donna meets up with James in the woods and she says, "Laura told me that Bobby killed a guy."
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But here's the best part. You ready for the best part?
Yeah.
It's not in the film, but it's in the script.
Yeah, of course.
Okay? What he's selling to them is not coke. it's the baby laxatives from Dead Dog Farm.
Oh yeah, we do see baby laxatives. That's right. Yeah.
Remember when they're talking when they're doing the whole thing where they sent in David Duchovny as the waitress?
There was
Jean Reno and
there was baby laxative in the sink.
In the sink.
Yeah. Oh.
And that's what it is. But
Okay.
I mean, they don't mention it. They just make it a Coke deal. But in the script, after they've killed a guy, they start doing lines of it.
Okay, so you're saying like the guy thought he could like show this out to like, I don't know, get his guard down or something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, but it was a fake out.
That makes a little more sense then.
Yeah. And also in the script,
they could have mentioned something like that.
They could have. Well, and it would have tied in with the show, and it's not bad, whatever.
Yeah.
But anyway, one of the things that I find interesting is at the end of the script is not Laura and Cooper sitting there with the angel.
Yeah.
The last scene of the second to last scene of the script is the hospital doors opening up, just boom, and Annie is being carted in the emergency room, and they're trying to resuscitate her from the Black Lodge experience, and the camera pans down, she's wearing the ring. And then it showed Cooper and Laura in there, and that was the end, saying that they were trapped in there.
Right. So what did you think of that last scene? What do you think about that? What that means? I mean, she's smiling and she's happy, and she's all dolled up and everything. She sees the angel.
Right.
But I don't understand. Like, okay, I could say like, oh yeah, she finally found her peace, and
she thought the angels were abandoning her.
When they disappeared from the painting, right?
Although I read this one review when the movie first came out, it was genius. It was in the Herald, and it said the opening scene of the movie of the snowy TV screen and the camera pulling out and the bar thing hitting the crowbar hitting the TV and exploding it is Lynch's message to the medium. This is not the TV show. right?
Yeah, sure. I can see that.
But then with Laura laughing in the camera at the end is his message to us that he stole our money.
Obviously the reviewer didn't like the movie.
No, very few people like the movie. I remember though being in Vacaville visiting one of my mom's friends, and the Twin Peaks movie had a 1-star review, and it said, what was once a clever, funny, quirky show has dissolved into a Friday the 13th, horrible, you get punished for your sins, that type of thing, and the sex and the violence is. I remember just getting very excited when I read that. Like really, like it seemed like a bold move to take the thing and turn it into this.
Yeah.
And what I find interesting about the movie too is it's 2 hours and 15 minutes long, and it's never boring to me. But my God, do you feel every single one of those minutes?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it really makes you, because with Laura, there's like set piece and then set piece and then set piece. Another thing that's in the script is right when Laura jumps off James' bike and she goes, "I love you, James," and she runs off in the woods, and he rides off. And if you watch the shot very carefully, the camera slowly pans down and to the left, but stops. So it's a slight camera move. And I remember just watching it going, oh, that's an interesting thing. I don't know why they just didn't lock the camera off on a tripod and off it goes. It's a slight move. While when you read the script, camera pans down at the bottom of on the street was the blue rose. From Gordon's thing at the beginning.
Yeah, sure. Which I didn't really get.
No, but I thought it was interesting that they were in the script. They were really trying to tie it loop to loop.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the movie a lot. But at the same time, though, I will say this: I think the movie's great, but I think it's also a missed opportunity.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
There's a lot of shit in there that, like, I really think that.
I mean, you could in the end, given how the show stops abruptly like it does, you could say the whole show is a missed opportunity then, if they'd only known that.
But they knew in the movie.
They knew in the movie, so it was totally missed. But I heard that it was originally supposed to be a 3-movie deal.
Yeah, but
like the first one would have been this, and then they would have resolved, what went on in the TV show.
Yeah, but in the Hollywood business, you got one shot.
Yeah.
Make it count.
If he had done the movie that everybody wanted to see, maybe he would have had the chance to do 2 more. I
still think they should make a movie of Cooper and Wyndham Earle.
Well, I keep thinking it's not too late to do another movie and to tie off. I mean, you don't even have to. necessarily resolve everything, but I mean, all of a sudden, how great would that be if they do a movie right now, and Good Cooper finally gets out or whatever, and you see these characters going, oh my god, what the hell happened to they move on with their lives, and whatever happened, I'd say stuff just gets back to normal then maybe even, or and whatever goes on, and then Cooper's reemergence brings back, some dark this or that, but
yeah,
it's not too late. In fact, they could do it 10 years from now; it still wouldn't be too late.
No, and Mark Frost tried to get it going as a graphic novel.
That would be fine too. You wouldn't have to worry about the aging of
Lynch won't let them do it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I remember, I actually talked to Mark Frost's secretary, and I said, how does it work, to get, when people do like fan fiction and that type of thing, right? I mean, you're using other people's characters, how does that work? And, because I was like gonna just write the Cooper Wyndham Earl movie, you know what I mean? And have the whole Caroline thing, even though it's a prequel still, you could do it as such an isolated story that it would be a very entertaining type of film, without having to do
it'd be a totally different location, so you wouldn't have to worry about including all these characters.
No, you could shoot it in Philadelphia and everything. And that's when I found out that there was an attempt to do graphic novels, and Lynch will not release any of the names out to people to do their own stuff. Otherwise, I think WB or CW already would have had a Twin Peaks new version or something.
Yeah.
The weird thing is, if you go up to Snoqualmie, up in Twin Peaks area, there's no mention of that show at all up there.
Yeah, they've forgotten about it.
Well, it was so weird because the show is so iconic that everything up there is so beautiful.
Every time you see the lodge and the waterfall and everything, it's just boom.
But I would think that forever you would be like, this is where they shot Twin Peaks, not covering it up. That seems really odd.
Right.
But yeah, no, I think the show is fantastic, and like I've said before, I don't think it's aged just a day. You know? And it's still funny when it needs to be funny, scary when it's supposed to be scary.
Well, and rewatching the show, I was just surprised at how many moments there were when I just felt this just sense of good when these characters would deliver the speech, or they would have this moment here, and I guess I had remembered the quirkiness and the horrific elements, but I forgot about that part too.
Oh yeah, like even when the sheriff is like, they all think Cooper's leaving, and they're giving him the presents and stuff, and he's like giving him the green bud skunk and stuff like that. It's like, and he's like, you can come here anytime. You feel like so proud, like these guys are really good friends.
Yeah,
and stuff.
yeah. Well, I mean, and Harry Truman's relationship with Cooper is just fantastic.
Yeah. And he's such a rock solid individual. Like he's one of the few people on the show that doesn't attempt to screw over someone else.
No, he doesn't. I mean, he has his moments of darkness, when he's like, after Josie dies and he starts drinking, and he's like wants to kill himself. This that.
Yeah.
But even that, he's doing that to himself. He takes it personally, like he thinks it was his fault.
Right.
It's not like he's not. You're right. He's not doing anything bad to these other people. Yeah, you're right. He's one of the few.
Even Madeline and stuff. I mean, they all kind of screw over James at some point. What I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's some of the stuff that horrifies himself, or when the good characters have done something that they feel the horror within.
Yeah, it just would have been great to see so much more of that. I mean, watching the show, I love the elements of good and bad, and how you see all these characters, and most of the characters are pretty starkly drawn. This person's pretty bad, this person is pretty damn good, and I mean, everybody has the opportunity to change, and to go from good to bad to good or whatever. But I like that, and I felt like if it had gone on longer, they could have talked about the influence of the woods, the lodges, and how that's like playing. This having this impact on these people's emotions and feelings, and it's just, it could have been this great, triumphant, epic battle between the forces of good and evil.
Well, that's what you think the show's heading towards.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole idea of they bringing in Ghostwood, you know what I mean, and they talking about Ghostwood. Very interesting. They start bringing in King Arthur at the last second. You know what I mean? With the 12 sycamore trees and stuff like that. Like, King Arthur's buried in England.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And I love the fact in the last episode they bring back Ronette. What is this? That's the oil. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the scorched oil. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I think all that works, and I think
has Lynch or Frost, have they ever talked about what they were going to do with the third season or fourth? Did they have anything planned? Or?
Well, it is not really. They said basically it was going to be dealing with people realizing Cooper was not who he was, and that type of thing. But look what they had set up. I mean, they blew up Audrey. They blew up Pete and Andrew.
Audrey could have survived. But Pete, I don't see how he got alive.
They killed Ben Horn by knocking him into the chimney.
Oh, you thought that? I thought that meant that he was going to have this head injury and he was going to turn all evil again.
Oh, probably.
That little moment of good was gone.
Well, probably. That's probably the way they would have done it, because you wouldn't get rid of that actor. He was fantastic.
Totally fantastic. Yeah.
But like I said,
that Nadine's back to her silent drape runner self.
Well, that's
again.
the thing. It's like it's not so
too
much...
bad because as weird as it is for her to get amnesia and super strength and start dating Mike, the high schooler, I love it. Especially when she actually starts dating Mike. She's pursuing him actively and he's like, whoa, lady, all that. But I like it, when they go to the lodge and he's all like dressed incognito, and I really like that. I thought it was good in two reasons. First off, because I felt like Mike had nothing to do and was superfluous character in the first season, and he started showing up less and less. I thought, okay, they're just going to write him out, and that was a nice way to just bring him back, just little scenes here and there. Plus, it was great because
he's funny.
He's funny, and I like, exactly, and not only that, but it gave us how many moments were there where Ed's taking Nadine around someplace and she's doing her thing, and he's just got the most perfect look on his face, going like, I have no idea, I'm just going with it.
Yeah,
he does it so flawlessly that it was great. Plus, you want to see Ed get together with Norma, you want to see that, and that was a good opportunity to do it without Ed being this like horrible, because he's a good person and he doesn't want to hurt her, and that's the only reason why he's been together for these 20 years or however long, and you want to see them together. So it was a good way to get them together,
right?
Without her being.
Well, I just think the last episode just goes out of its way to make your life miserable.
Yeah, it does.
Because it just leaves everybody.
It does. If they had known that it was going to be canceled, that single episode, they could have done this different, could have done that different, and it could have been a little. They could have resolved a lot of things.
But I think that's the way we're so used to television being now. Lynch is not that way.
No.
I think
most of his movies show that.
So I think he wouldn't have changed a thing.
Maybe not. Yeah.
I think he likes the idea of, well, your mind can take it from where it goes.
Yeah. Well, he's always said he refuses to explain any of his movies because he doesn't. He thinks it should be your imagination. You should be able to say whatever you think happened. And that's a fine point of view, I guess. But sometimes you want. I don't necessarily need to have everything explained through when I watch a movie, a TV show, but Twin Peaks just left too much hanging.
Yeah, I think it's a little different than some of his later works, which are very much like a return to his paintings on the wall, where it just is like him throwing paint on a canvas and just whatever sticks, and then the movies end and that's it. Twin Peaks is very much to me like Blue Velvet and Wild at Heart, where it's like it's realism and surrealism together to the point where you really, really liked the characters.
Yeah.
And so it's not like Lost Highway where you're like, oh, the movie's over, that was cool. I can take it or leave it.
But yeah, you never connect to anybody in that.
No,
in that movie
in Inland Empire especially.
Yeah.
But in Twin Peaks, it's, and I think because it's so long that you really grow to attach to everybody. And not until I saw Buffy. I don't think there had ever been a show since Twin Peaks until I saw Buffy where almost every single character was fantastic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's
even some of the characters that seem like they're one note, he gives them opportunities later to grow their characters. Like, they have a whole season where the nerds are the main villains of the show. Yeah, and Buffy and before that, and most shows I feel like a character is drawn specifically, this is who they are, and they might do some stuff, kill off some loved one or this and that, but ultimately they don't change. Nothing happens, and it's like, all right, this is what you get, and that's that. But
it's like in the pilot of Twin Peaks, right? You have basically Mike and Bobby being basically woman beaters. They're like grabbing Donna and smacking her around the roadhouse and bossing them around. And by the end, it's like you're really hoping Bobby and Shelley can get back together. And, you know what I mean? And it's like Mike and Nadine. Like you said, and it's like you really. Like, you feel bad when Lynch kisses Shelley in front of Bobby. You know what I mean? Bobby looks so sad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like a really funny moment, but it's so sad. And it's funny, too, because, like, in the first season, like, Major Briggs is, like, this really stern father guy. But by season 2, he's, like, one of my favorite characters. When he's coming in and always talking about the ethics of military life.
I liked him from the very get-go.
Oh, I like him too. But he's a different person.
He was different, but I'm mostly at first I was drawn to just the way he speaks, just that incredible eloquence and he talks the way that that most people would write, and I would love to be able to talk like that, except my words aren't so good. But yeah, and then and then he gives that great speech about the dream that he has of Bobby, and that's the moment where I just fell in love with his character and felt the same for Bobby. I felt like I felt that same kind of pride, because before that, Bobby for the most part was this rebellious little punk that you want to smack around, and he's threatening to kill James, but you like James, so you don't want that to happen, and
right.
And then later on you see Bobby, he's not a bad guy at all. I mean, he's made some bad choices, but he's trying.
He's trying. He's planting coke in James' bike and stuff. But yeah. And I love all the stuff at One-Eye Jack's and stuff. And I love when they bust in to get Audrey. That's a great moment.
Oh, yeah.
It gives everyone a little chance to shine. Hawkins throws knife. It's good. Yeah, like, Blackie and Jean Reno, Michael Parks and stuff. It's just, really good. And all that stuff with Blackie and Ben Horn.
I like how much... story that there is there that they don't need to show specifically. There's all this backstory here, and we don't need to see it all, but it's nice that it has that kind of richness to it.
Mm-hmm. And even when they start bringing in Squiggy and Dick, Tremaine, right? Dick Tremaine.
Dick Tremaine, yeah.
And they're doing the whole Miss Twin Peaks thing. People write it off at that point and say, oh, what used to be a great show is just dissolved into silliness. But I'm sorry, there's something really cool and sinister about Winter Murrow dressed up as the log lady and that whole strobe lighted scene where he kidnaps Annie.
That scene is just nuts. I love the way that was shot. And there are a lot of other moments throughout the show. Unfortunately, I can't really remember them all. I probably should have wrote them down. But there's all these moments where it was just really well shot. Like, there's a lot of scenes where they're in the woods with the flashlight going through, and it's just,
when Leo throws a football.
Yeah, like that. The creepiness there. There's one scene where Cooper's talking to Annie at the diner, and I think they kiss and they talk about how great, and it slowly pans away further and further, and it just has the most ominous music, and I thought it was going to pan over and you see Winter Murrow in the back, looking at them or something like that. It didn't happen, but there are just a lot lot of moments, and there's a couple other ones.
But that's when the coffee drips the oil.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Maybe and it's weird, though, because the episodes before that, when they are on their dates, it's the music's so lush and romantic and sweet. Yeah. And that's the moment where, you know what I mean? Especially at the end when she says, hear the other side, see the other side, it's like a fairy tale, and he goes, and you're the queen. It's like, oh crap. Yeah. You know what I mean? And the giant's like, no. I was surprised the giant wasn't in the movie, though. I was shocked that he wasn't in the movie, considering his prominence.
That 1 second, in the Black Lodge, wasn't he?
No, he's not in there at all.
Really? Oh, well, maybe I'm thinking of the last episode. I must be thinking of the last episode of the show, because I watched them back to back. So,
yeah, right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That doesn't really make much sense at all, then, huh?
Well, no, it doesn't make sense. I just miss him.
Well, yeah.
Because he was a cool character. That moment when he's like, it is happening again, right before Madeline gets killed, which I still think is one of the most violent things ever put on primetime TV.
Oh, yeah. Without a doubt. Yeah. And then you feel the dread, and not only that, but it's just visceral when he's punching her. You feel the impact. It's just...
And he's like, oh, and she's like, he's just coughing up the blood. Yeah. And then after... He's going back to Missoula, Montana, and smashes her face into the wall, and then she's dead, and then he grabs the finger, and you're like, oh, crap. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because you kind of forget about that, the letters and stuff.
Yeah.
Some people, I remember at the time, even Kyle MacLachlan, hated the idea of the character of Annie, because he said, oh well, why have me with a young girl? Why not just put me with Audrey and that type of thing?
Yeah.
And I get it because Audrey and him are such a huge part of the show, and then she kind of goes away towards Billy Zane.
Right.
And I understand that, but I think it's good for her to go somewhere else.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but I mean, he's already given, these several speeches about her saying, you're a great person, I like you, but you're young, we're not right for each other like that, and I can't say it the way that he does, but.
Right.
But I think to have them just all of a sudden go back together again, no. That kind of just ruins, that like tender relationship they had before. Unnecessary. I mean, I guess he could have easily gotten together with, I don't know, who else would he have gotten together that was already on the show though?
And I said it before, I'll say it again. Heather Graham is playing an ex-suicidal nun, right? But every time she's on screen, it feels like she's an angel. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I've never felt that way when Heather Graham is on screen in a movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no.
But the way Angela Badalamenti scores her underneath, and I mean, you feel every time she's up on the screen, she is the light. You understand why Cooper is so smiling around her.
Yeah.
And I think it was you that said that one of the reasons why that works so well is because the way Kyle looks at her.
Yeah. I mean, it's a character that obviously, we adore him by this point, and
right.
We want him to feel happy. You want him to feel fulfilled, and
because we know what happened to Caroline,
and he's been so cut off. Yeah, exactly. That I mean, he still has this sense of positivity that he shows, and he's an optimistic person. But you can tell his heart's closed off, and it's nice to see him open up like that again. Yeah.
Right. Especially since we've been told the Caroline story, and we know how much Wyndham Earle's screwing with him at this moment.
Yeah, well, and it's brilliant that this is the moment where he finally chooses to let somebody in his life again, and that's right when Wyndham Earle is coming back into town there too. So it's
right.
It's brilliant the timing of it.
Right. Oh yeah, and that moment when they're getting off the canoe boat. And Wyndham Earle's got the binoculars, and that smile that he has. It's not even like, oh, I'm so happy. But it's like this moment of like, I can use this. I can use this to get to him.
Yeah.
And when they go into the when the light powers out and they go back and there's that, I don't know, vagrant, whatever, right? Pointing to the chessboard. And Cooper gives that speech about how there's going to be no mistakes, no slip-ups. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And again, like you said about Annie, the way Cooper talks about Wyndham Earle gives us fear.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So by the time when Leo comes into the cabin, we're terrified.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but he's taken this character of Leo, who was just a terrifying menace to Bobby and Shelley. And Wyndham Earle treats him like a freaking puppet. It's like, Leo, this big, giant, scary, freaky badass, has no chance at all. I mean, yeah, he was, just got out of the, his crippled coma thing or whatever, and yeah, he was, stabbed in the leg and all that, but yeah, he's got no chance at all.
No, because Wyndham's got such superior intelligence.
Yeah,
overall.
Oh yeah, he's devious, and I like it. Yeah, he's a great character. And
but he runs around like Pan in the flute, like you know what I mean. And at first, I remember when I first watched the show, I was like going, I don't know, is this still scary with him running around like there's a flute and stuff? Yeah. But he keeps changing his appearance from scene to scene.
Yeah.
It's not like a one note.
I mean, if he had just done it that way the whole time, it would have been a Batman villain, basically, from the TV show.
Yeah, and I totally had forgotten that Ted Raimi was in the show.
Oh yeah, the biker, the punk rock guy, whatever.
Right, after he gets the speech about the Black Lodge, right?
Some beer, man.
Yeah, and that's a good scene with him firing the crossbow. I love that scene when Cooper takes the rock and just shoots it, and the whole chest piece comes on when they're in the gazebo.
Oh yeah.
That's a good moment.
Mm-hmm. Well, because you don't even, you see that Wyndham Earle's doing this thing in his cabin, but you don't really know what the hell he's building, and then bam, there's a pawn dead right there, perfect.
There's that, and then of course the next great scene is when Cooper is finally has the three girls together, at the sheriff's station. He's telling them, you are being stalked, you are being hunted by this guy, Wyndham Earle.
Yeah.
And that's great because at first, it's been so long since the three girls have been in a scene with Cooper.
Right.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that's cool, when they put the signatures together, and, it is the letter, and it's Leo's handwriting.
Mm-hmm,
You know,
mm-hmm.
I think all that really works.
One thing I was feeling about Donna, I don't know if you feel the same way, but I felt like they had no idea what to do with her, after the whole, like, her and James trying to investigate what's going on with Laura's death and all that. After that, I feel like...
season 1, or...
No, I guess it's, yes, most of season 2.
Well, I like Harold. I like her relationship with Harold.
That was good. I guess maybe after that point, but that was still when she's investigating and trying to figure out, what was going on. After that, I felt like, there's the whole thing about, maybe her real dad is, Horn, and I don't know. Like, it just felt like they didn't know what to do with her.
Well, I think, again, I think once you've dealt with Laura Palmer's death being solved, those characters almost need to get out of the show.
Like they wrote James out, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know what that was about. I don't know if he had another movie. He was doing a movie or something, and they had to get him off the show, or whether it was Sam Dunn. I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
But again, make it a clean break, but to give it that, like you said, the postman always rings twice. With him and what's that woman's name? I can't remember, the blonde.
I don't even know.
Yeah.
It was just none of that worked.
I thought it worked, but it doesn't work in retrospect. I think while it's going through it, you think, it's not great, but it's not horrifically bad where I'm fast forwarding through it.
Yeah, no, it's not that bad. No, part of the problem is that, James is just not a great character to be as a lead, and in those scenes he's basically as a lead.
Right.
And, he's, like what is it, Laura says, like, yeah, he's handsome and this and that, but there's only so much of sweet I can take.
There's that.
And stupid as can be. And I'm like, yeah, you see him, he's like, yeah, he's kind of dumb.
Yeah.
Although I absolutely love the scene where he's playing the guitar, singing the song, the little 50s type love song with the two girls.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that. I thought it's absolutely brilliant. And then I like how
when Bob comes over the couch right after that.
Oh, well, yeah, that's horrible. Every time Bob comes on the screen, it's just like, who is this guy? It's like, like a 50-some-odd-year-old guy with long, mangly hair. He shouldn't be that scary, but he is for some reason.
Yeah, but he's also... it's one of the few things in cinema that I've seen where literally you feel like you're in the presence of pure evil when he shows up.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's because the music, the mood, the thump, the sound.
Yeah.
It's just like this roaring animal.
Well, and the fact that we don't, it's like, the great horror movies or something, or, the alien movie, you don't see the alien running around the movie for an hour straight or more. You don't see Bob for these long stretches. You see him for a little flash here, a little bit there, and so every time he comes on, it's just like, ah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also they built up to him.
Mm-hmm.
He pretty much talks in Cooper's dream, and that's it. And then after that, it's just like this whole thing,
Yeah, especially in the Twin Peaks movie, he is just menacing. A lot of it is due to Cheryl Lee and how great she is at showing her terror.
Yeah.
But yeah, good God, creepy as hell. Especially like when the picture that she gets from the boy, the boy with the mask, whatever that's about.
Yeah. Well, that's the same boy from the.
I remember from the TV show,
yeah.
with the cream corn and all that.
Yeah.
I get that, but that picture is just like. I don't know. When I watched this movie again the other day, the instant I saw that picture, I was just instantly creeped out. I don't know if that's just because of my memories of having watched it the first time, but there's something about the way that picture is taken. It's just creepy as hell when you see her going through that whole dream sequence with that.
Yeah.
It's just, I love it. But
with Mrs. Truman calling for us to come closer to the door.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that kind of stuff is it's pretty bad. it's it's funny. It makes the parts of season 1 where they're just kind of like running to Jacques Renault's apartment, not quite as sinister.
B's French Canadian, not so scary anymore.
No. But I love, obviously, Bad Limit music, but Julie Cruz's music through the whole thing is just really cool. You know, that ethereal Roadhouse, singer.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, is that who? I was wondering who that is. I figured she's an actual singer, right? Those are her songs, right?
Well, it's Badalamenti wrote them and she sang them.
Okay,
but,
okay.
But I mean, she did the music for Blue Velvet too.
Yeah, yeah, I thought so.
But every time she's on there and like just turns into this either melancholy of sadness or
yeah, it's haunting. I mean, she could with the way that she sings and the way she could be singing a happy dovey love song and it would still come out melancholy.
Well, yeah, I think it's just also Lynch and Badalamenti together.
Yeah,
it just creates that. And they're always, I mean, Shirley Lee in the movies just practically crying every damn scene.
Basically, yeah.
Yep. She's literally having a nervous breakdown,
or she's totally coked out and goofy and whatnot.
Which is there when they're talking about the last week of her in the show, but there's a lot of people who said they didn't see any change in her either.
I kind of would have liked they could have even totally dropped the whole FBI involvement at all and just focused more on her. And I would have liked to have seen a more gradual turn, like her. Even go back to like she said Bob first showed up when she was like 12.
Right.
Even go back to then. That far back, and just have it just be this long, slow decline. And we see her in the beginning angelic and good, that kind of person that everybody talked about.
Right.
This totally sweet, oh my god, I can't believe this happened type character.
Right.
From what we've seen from the very beginning of the movie, she's already totally fucked up at that point.
Well, she's gone.
Yeah. I would have liked to have seen, the beginning more gradual, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. It's weird though. That's one of those movies where it's like I can think of a million things I would have loved to have seen seen in it.
Yeah.
But as it is, I like it. I really do like it. I like it a lot. But I go, but there's so many opportunities you could have done. But at the same time, though, it's like, okay, if I had the choice of no movie versus having the movie,
I'll take this.
I'll take it
without a doubt.
You know what I mean? Because I think there's enough great things in it to go with it.
Yeah.
But you're talking about Laura being a certain way in the movie. Well, also, Leland is a certain way in the movie. There's no good Leland in that movie.
No, not at all. Yeah, in the show, I mean, especially beginning, you don't know in the very beginning that he's the killer and this and that. You see this grief and whatnot, and that's why I was curious how much of the scenes we see Leland in the show and the movie, how much of it is actually him, but Bob's just given him this amnesia and he doesn't remember what he's done, but you're really seeing his actions, and how much of it is actually Bob taking control.
I think in the movie,
it seems like it's Bob from start to finish. It seems
pretty much is,
except for that one scene
where he starts crying in the bedroom.
Yeah, in the bedroom saying "I love you." Yeah, exactly.
I think that's one of the few moments that Dad comes back. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, I think it is Bob the entire time.
Yeah.
Or at least in the finished film.
Certainly, it seems like it that way. But the TV show doesn't seem like that. It seems
no, because I think once he killed Laura, he got suppressed.
Oh, maybe he got what he wanted, and he's satisfied for the moment, and so he can take a back seat.
And that's why it took all the way till Madeline coming out, because
actually, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Madeline reminded him of Laura, and she was right. Like Cooper said, she was leaving. Mm-hmm. He had one last chance.
Yeah.
Just so you know, the white horse that keeps appearing and the stuff, that's in Laura's diary as being like a horse that she used to ride when she was a kid.
Oh, yeah?
Which they make no mention of in the show.
Nope.
But in Jennifer Lynch's diary that she wrote for Laura, it's mentioned several times about
her mom has a dream about the horse.
Twice.
Yeah.
Once right before Madeline died and once in the movie. In the bedroom.
That's right.
Which I think is interesting.
I guess the mom is kind of psychic-ish or something.
But I mean, to bring the horse back in the movie makes you think they're going to talk about it. I mean, one vision in the show, fine, I get it.
Sure.
To bring it back, it's like, well, what are we doing with this? We're just going to do the same vision again?
Yeah.
It's kind of odd.
I don't know, maybe they was trying to draw a parallel. She had that dream, that one, now she has another one, now we know she's going to die soon.
Oh, like when Bob climbs into Laura's bedroom in the movie?
Yeah.
But, there's also a moment during when they're in the Canadian bar and she's naked and the buck guy is underneath the table and she's with Ronette.
Oh, yeah.
And all of a sudden you see this bright white light come on Laura and she just looks horrified. And then she sees Donna and she's like, no, Donna, no, right?
Yeah.
In the script, when the white light happens, that's supposed to be Bob's presence. And Bob says to her, "Look what I'm doing to your friend. I'm corrupting her." And that's when she freaks out. I always thought that was really interesting. But they cut out his voice. So they just left it like just the present, the light. But then again, you're not really getting the feeling like that's Bob because the whole place is lit like that.
So like when Bob's possessed somebody, do you think the only way for him to leave is when the host dies? Or do you think, or I mean, is that a way that just forces him to leave? But he could leave any other time he wanted to.
I think he can leave anytime he wants. But he wasn't jumping bodies. But I think that
he wasn't.
But I think that he could come and go from Leland, or be suppressed.
Yeah, but when they finally, when they know Leland is a killer, they catch him, they got him in the cell. I mean, I guess Bob. It seems like Bob could have, if he could leave at any moment, he could just hop out and go somewhere else. I don't know.
Yeah,
I kind of felt like he
killed Leland.
Yeah, but he killed him. I didn't know, but I thought. I mean, maybe he only killed him because he wanted to kill him, tie up loose ends and all that, and punish, everybody else and horrify them. Maybe that was it. I couldn't tell if it was that or if that's the only way he can leave once he's into a body.
Well, it was interesting. At the very end of that episode, Albert says, "But if he was here, we had him trapped." No. Sheriff Truman says, "If we had him here, he was trapped. Where's Bob now?" And the next cut is Cooper with his cup of coffee. And I remember seeing it at the time, going, "He's Bob."
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Because this is just cut perfectly.
Yeah.
Where's Bob now? And there's Cooper with his coffee, which didn't happen for another 15 episodes. But they totally just threw their hand at that moment. And I think it would have been interesting if Cooper had been Bob, and then Wyndham Earl comes to town, and that would have been a showdown.
Yeah. I also would have liked if they hadn't solved, if that, with, Leland and all of that getting caught and all that. I would have preferred if that was the end of the second season. Then the third season, I think maybe people wouldn't have complained so much about the events that would happen in the third season if it started afresh, a new season.
Well, I think you also have to understand that at the time, there was obviously no DVD, the shows weren't coming out. People were pissed that Laura's crime wasn't solved at the end of season 1.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Even though that was, 6 episodes?
6 episodes. Yeah. They were pissed, right? So they were mad that it was going that long in season 2.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas, okay, take today in The Shield, right? How long did it take them to get punished for the
crime they do in the very
the train robbery, the Armenian train? Or
yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, back then, long-form storytelling just wasn't done.
No.
Yeah.
No. So people were getting very restless.
Right.
It wasn't
Whereas
being
if that
solved.
show had come out now, it probably would have been able to go on several seasons.
I have an ad for it says on Saturday, I can't remember the day, we are going to reveal Laura's killer, period. For real, period. That's the way people were responding to it. They couldn't get people to watch the show anymore.
Yeah.
And then once Laura's murder was solved, everyone jumped ship except the devotees. And I think that's why Lynch maintains that
it seems like
that
even
he never wanted it solved.
Yeah. It seems like from what a lot of the actors on the show said, they even felt like at that point that they were kind of abandoned by. I think Kyle MacLachlan, I think it was him, who said he said Lynch and Frost were barely in the second season at all. They had much less influence at all. He said they all felt kind of abandoned.
And I think what killed the show wasn't necessarily they solved Laura's murder, although I think that was part of it. But I like the way it's handled. It's the 7 episodes before Wyndham Earl comes in. Because those episodes are fine, but they're going nowhere.
Right.
We're going nowhere. Once Earl comes in and Annie comes in, the show regains a focus.
Yeah.
We're going full steady. You know what I mean? It's intense.
Certainly. Yeah.
But those 7 episodes when it's just Nadine throwing weight people around.
Right.
You know what I mean? People are out of it. And
it's almost like, the people behind the show are said, well, we don't know what to do right now. This is your fault, people. You're the ones who wanted us to solve it.
Yeah. But I think the way they ended Laura's murder doesn't feel like a rush job.
It doesn't feel rushed. I don't know. I just felt like having half the season be about this and the other half about that. Maybe it kind of mixed things up a little, and that's maybe I think people would have been less pissed off by the changes if it happened at the start of a new season.
I think those little episodes in between, if they had just managed to put Earl in there earlier and have it just segue from Laura's murder into Earl's thing,
it
would have gone
Oh yeah.
Like gangbusters.
Yeah, certainly. Coulda, shoulda, woulda.
But it's still a great show.
It's still a fantastic show.
And it's still...
It's still something I'll totally recommend to anybody.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I still go back and forth. I mean, for my entire life, I've always maintained Twin Peaks' flaws and all, if you can find any, is that it is probably the greatest show ever made. But I think every single character in Twin Peaks is just absolutely across the board fantastic. And, and there's never a moment where I'm like, oh, or with this character. It's just such a joy.
Even some of them that you think that way at first, you go to like Dick Tremaine. At first, I was thinking like, who is this guy? It was just ridiculous. But I grow to like him. Charms and all this lecherous.
Especially when he's doing the wine tasting.
Exactly.
With the pine weasel.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. But I think
even like other characters like Nadine, I just hated her in the beginning.
Right.
Draped runners and silent, and she's just batshit insane and.
Right.
And I'm not saying I wanted her to kill herself like she was trying to do. I didn't want that, but even then when she comes back with the amnesia, I love that.
Right.
Every single character, Bobby, I thought he was a total freaking dick, to begin with, and again, I end up liking him, and I like the way he strives trying to make money out of this or that and all that. I like it. It's great. Every character. Some of them I love from the very beginning. Some of them it took me a little time, but you're right. Every one of them is so sharply drawn and unique. Not only amongst each other, but amongst television characters of any other show.
Yeah. And I just love the fact that it can go from comedy to drama to horror to everything, and just but never feel like it's doing stop starts. It's all
none of these changes feel so jarring. Like, oh my gosh, this is a totally different show now. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, that's part of. I mean, Lynch is able to do that in anything he does. Really, it's
I think in the first part of Twin Peaks it goes comedy, drama, horror, and it's in this little pool. But I think as season 2 keeps going, it starts going good or funny, scary. It starts getting wider and wider, and then the shift is much of bigger.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, early on in the show, with a couple of changes, they could have taken out all the surreal stuff. And you could say that Bob there's no real Bob. He was just how Leland's just this schizophrenic freak, and that was that, and it was really all about child incest and but it could have gone that way, and it would have been great too, I'm sure then. But I don't know. I like that you get this whole kitchen sink kind of thing where you get all this stuff going on in this weird city. And there's a lot of other shows that have tried to do that. The quirky town stuff, and in most cases it just doesn't work. I don't know if it's because the cast is wrong or it's the directors or the writers or what. But
they don't have a tone.
Yeah.
Even this new show, The Killing, is trying to redo Laura Palmer. Who killed Rosie Lawson?
Yeah, well, but much more like totally straightforward stuff.
Well, yeah, right. Exactly.
I watched the first season of that and didn't like it much.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll watch anymore. But I mean, that's the one thing. It did have the who killed so and so, but like. Unlike Twin Peaks, The Killing, you don't care about any of these other characters. I like the cops, and that's about it. Really, the whole politician stuff on the side. It's Twin Peaks, when they go on to talk about.
Well, it was a world away from
Hurley
the
and all
world.
this. You love it. You don't care if when it's not one of those shows where when Dale Cooper is not on the scene, you're just bored waiting for him to come back again. Right. It's not like that at all. All this, like, everybody has their own story, and it's interesting to watch it.